It's the National League of Cities 2011 Congress of Cities. I'm Jackie Young with NLC TV. I'm at the Phoenix Convention Center in Phoenix, Arizona. I have with me the National League of Cities officers. I have Mr. James Mitchell. He's the NLC president. He's a council member from Charlotte, North Carolina. I have the first vice president. He's Mr. Ted Ellis. He's the mayor of Bluffton, Indiana. I also have NLC second vice president, Marie Lopez Rogers. She's the mayor of Avondale, Arizona. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
It's a great morning here in Phoenix. I do have some questions. We're really looking forward to hearing all about the 2011 Congress of Cities.
Okay.
Mr. Mitchell, I'll start with you.
Okay.
Could you tell us about the Congress of Cities goals?
Yes. First of all, let me thank the over 3,000 attendees who are here, 1,600 paid delegates or elected officials who took the time out to come and support the 2011 conference. Through mobile workshops, we hope they will learn best practices. Through networking with their other elected officials, we hope they will continue to learn and gain the value from National League of Cities. And more importantly, this year we're doing a 4 concurrent session: economic development, immigration, energy, and a focus on youth and families. It is our goal that this year this will be one of the best conferences, and it's that way because of the delegates that are here, the host committee, and more importantly, we realize the National League of Cities, it's now time for elected officials to lead. And we hope through this conference, not only they'll be educated, but they'll be better public servants as well.
And I have a question for Mr. Ellis. Why was Phoenix chosen, and why did the National League of Cities continue your plans to come here?
Well, that decision to come to Phoenix was at Phoenix's invitation several years ago. We planned these conferences several years in advance, and it was affirmed last year by our board of directors. Of course, the environment, the political environment has changed a little bit in Arizona throughout the country in the years since we originally chose Phoenix. But we chose Phoenix initially because it's a great example to cities all over the United States of creativity, of innovation, and nothing has changed there. We also wanted to make a statement that we stand by the city of Phoenix and the cities like Mesa or Avondale who are trying to deliver services in the best way that they can to their residents. Again, that hasn't changed. So the environment has changed, but our commitment to make cities better and be better stewards of resources for our citizens remains the same.
Mr. Mitchell, did you want to add anything to that? Or?
No, I think Ted exactly right when he said it's the resources, our commitment to the city of Phoenix, Arizona. And immigration reform is a key priority for the National League of Cities, and we could not think of a better place, a better city to do it right here in Phoenix in the great state of Arizona.
Well, I'm sure Phoenix appreciates your support. Ms. Lopez, the current fiscal conditions of cities, could you tell us something about that?
Well, certainly everyone is struggling at this point in time with the current conditions of our country. However, cities are strong, and they will make a comeback. We have, in our own city, cut our deficit by 30%. And so we've had to make some changes, be outside creatively, and think outside the box about how we do business. And so I think that we will survive, but certainly we are struggling in a current fiscal year.
Did you want to add something?
Let me just add something to what the second vice president said, and she is exactly right. We, NLC Research Department, just did a report called Fiscal Conditions, and it pointed out that cities are still reducing public service, at the same time laying off city employees. And we know as elected officials, when people see us in the grocery store and the bank, they still need more services. And so I do think one new program we implemented this year was called Ask Your Corporate Partner. We think that's a way to find solutions using our corporate partners who are committed to NLC and who are here to say, how can we work better with the elected officials? We know as elected officials we cannot wait on Washington and the state government to give us the answers. We must take it upon ourselves, and working more closely with our corporate partners, we think is a solution.
I think that's excellent. Mr. Mitchell, let me come back to you. Could you address the need for jobs in cities?
Well, When you look at unemployment nationally, it's about 9%. We just received some good news, some would say, but then there's some bad news. Still, we have millions of Americans out of work, and we think Congress need to act now on passing a jobs plan. We know that it starts at cities, and in this recovery to our great country is going to start. Cities need to have more opportunities for infrastructure project that creates jobs, CDBG, in this way creates jobs, as well as access to capital for our small businesses. They are still hurting during the slow economic growth, and so we truly believe that if this country and if our city is going to thrive, it's through the jobs, and we need a jobs plan. We need it now.
Mr. Ellis, do you have something to add to that, coming from a different part of the country?
Well, as a matter of fact, I do. And one of the things that's critical to jobs, we believe, especially in cities and towns across the United States, is to make sure that our infrastructure is being upgraded and, frankly, we can still move goods and people around. Cities are the engines that spur economic growth, and unless we can move goods and people, that's not going to happen. And the quickest way, ironically and fortunately, to spur the economy on, to start growing the economy, is to invest in infrastructure. Those are dollars that go right to jobs. And we see some pretty immediate results when infrastructure investment is made. So we're here also to call attention to that. The good news with infrastructure is that we're seeing some movement in the Senate on a transportation bill, and that's moving with bipartisan support, which is a ray of sunshine for all of us who watch the political process move. So good things are happening. We're a long way from getting our transportation reform and transportation enhancement that will go out long enough for us to predict what's going to happen. But we believe that transportation is the key to jobs and the key to starting this economic recovery.
Ms. Lopez, did you have anything to add from a Southwest perspective?
I would, if you don't mind. I really, yesterday at our general session, we talked a lot about investing back into our communities, investing back into our nation. We have forgotten how important and how critical that is to our future, and certainly to be sustainable as a country, not only as a country, but as cities and as a nation. We need to invest back into our people, back into those cities that create those jobs and keep everyone working and living a holistic life.
And just as an aside, are you able to push that conversation up to the state level, or are you spreading it out among the cities, or how's that working?
We were very fortunate. About 2 weeks ago, we took directly to President Obama and his administration, and they heard our voice loud and clear. So through our great work of our staff, we've been able to get our message to Congress and the Senate. And we had, Ted and I was fortunate enough to meet with the Super 8 committee, Senator Murray. So they have heard loud and clear from National League of Cities, and we've been aggressive on this issue because we really need jobs in cities and towns across this country.
That's a great story. And Mr. Ellis, you touched on it, but could you expand a little bit on the Capitol Hill activity, the super committee, and transportation?
Well, as I said, we're starting to see some daylight here, and there is some hope, and we hope that the movement on the transportation bill and long-term transportation funding. We've been funding transportation federally through continuing resolutions, which means we're just kicking the can continuously down the road. The money is not what it should be to maintain our infrastructure and to keep the upgrades coming. The National League of Cities is not just a group of nebulous organizations called cities. We're the National League of People. Mm-hmm. And when people move and when goods can move, the economy begins to recover. And that's what we're all about, is making sure people can work and have a good life, or have good lives in the communities that we serve.
And Ms. Lopez, I have another question for you. Can you talk about the local participation from Phoenix, from Arizona, in this conference?
Yes, I believe we have probably the highest number of delegates at the convention this year, and I think that they see the importance of National League of Cities, what it can do for those cities. We have certainly a lot of rural cities that have come in, It's a great participation. They're anxious to see what we can do for them, but also what they can bring to us. They need that education. They need to know where we're going into the future, and certainly a lot of support for the National League of Cities and what we can do across the country and certainly in our state.
Mr. Mitchell, did you want to add something to that?
No. I just have to thank Marie and the host committee here at Arizona. It's been a fabulous conference. We have received nothing but great feedback. We're trying actually a new format for a concurrent conference, and everything seemed to be working well. I think this is a testimony that leaders really want to lead, and they still have a lot of value in the National League of Cities. That is why they are here this week.
Well, I have to say what has struck me talking to just a few delegates, I've talked to some of your capstone partners, and it's just so interesting because everyone's from different places, but they all have something in common. Exactly. It's the same struggle, and it seems to me that the National League of Cities is kind of facilitating the conversation on so many different levels. And it's really interesting to see. Because I'm sitting here with, you're from the Southwest, you're from the Midwest, and you're from Charlotte, North Carolina, which is terrific. Can you talk about that at all? Do you feel that from people, that you're kind of the glue?
Well, yes, and Ted and Marie would tell you this year our phrase of the NLC as a family. And I think we really are, and you just touched on why we think from a corporate partner perspective, they like to engage with staff, engage with elected officials about finding solutions. From an elected official perspective, you come here, you learn from all parts of, Indiana, Arizona, North Carolina, but we all have the same goal, and that is not only make this organization the best organization from an advocacy standpoint, but this the organization to go to get things done, to hear, and more importantly, like Ted say, move people is really about moving our citizens, because at the end of the day, that's who we ultimately responsible for, the citizens of this great country.
Mr. Ellis, you wanna add on to that?
Well, several things we do well as the National League of Cities, I think, is that we advocate to our federal government, and that we're not Democrats or Republicans, we're public officials, public servants, and we take that servanthood very seriously. So we're here to advocate. We're here to educate one another. You would never go to a dentist or a doctor who didn't engage in continuing education on a continuing basis. And that's what we do a lot of here, is educate one another. And then we're here to collaborate and to congregate, to get together quite often, to share stories, to share experiences, to share things that we tried and didn't work around the lunch table. And all of that brings value not only to the National League of Cities, but it brings value to us to take home, and it's all about the people that we are called to serve. And the better we can serve them, the better off this country will be.
Ms. Lopez, you want to add something?
Well, certainly, as James has said, we are a family. This is it just grew to 3,000 this weekend, but certainly we know that what our needs are, what our families need. We all have families that continue to remind us what is important to communities, and so I think that's important for us to remember, is that it's the people back home that we're serving, and that we continue to serve them in the best way that we can. We do that by coming to NLC to learn, to be with one another, what worked, what didn't work, and so we can take that back home.
It's such value. It's really very impressive. So, Mr. Mitchell, if I see you on the street next year, what are you going to tell me about how it's going with National League of Cities?
I'm going to say National League of Cities is still moving forward. It's been a stronger organization under fantastic leadership of Ted Ellis and Marie Lopez, because I would be the immediate past president. And I would tell you that the family would be continuing to growing, and we will be in the great city of Boston next year. But and I think Ted has the right agenda for 2012 as a president election, and we're going to make sure the NLC voice will be heard loud and clear. So I think it will be another successful year for NLC.
Did you want to add anything, Mr. Ellis, about next year?
Well, James has done such a good job of setting the stage for next year, but truthfully, as he said, it's a presidential election year, and of course all the House of Representatives and a third of the Senate will be up for election, and that means as a citizen, it means there's going to be a lot of hysteria to observe and a lot of promises and inaccurate and accurate information being disseminated. The potholes still have to be filled. The street lights still need to be on. The children still need to be educated. And we take that job very seriously as local elected officials, no matter what our conservative or liberal bent is, no matter what our politics, whether we're independents, whether we're Occupy, Name Your City, or Tea Partiers. We take public service and our citizens very seriously, and that's what we're going to focus on.
You know, I have to say that's the one thing that everybody's really kind of touched on is this bottom-up conversation and then top-down, which is I can't tell you enough. It's just really interesting.
You know, the point that Ted said earlier, and here's the numbers. We have over 800 elected officials here who sign up for 15 Leadership Training Institute. And Leadership Training Institute is where we come to learn how to be better public servant. So that's 800 elected officials who are saying, I need to continue to grow, I would like to grow. And the best way to do that is to come to National League of Citizens, take a LTI. And I think that's just a testimonial type of members that we have in this organization.
Well, thank you very much for coming by this morning. I certainly wish everybody good luck.
Thank you.
Again, this is Jackie Young with the National League of Cities.